One thing you can always count on from Fox News is racism. And one of the biggest racists there is Jesse Waters. This is what he said after the first day of the trial of Hunter Biden in the nation's capital.
It's called jury nullification. It's when you pick a jury that will give you a not guilty verdict. They know you're guilty, but they just disagree with the law. The strategy plays on the racial makeup of the jury, which is mostly black, as well as the Biden's influence in Delaware. The hope is this jury won't convict for a drug-related crime. Everybody in Delaware knows the Bidens. That's why Jill and Ashley are sitting front row. But that's not all. The Biden family brought Mouse to court. Mouse is a Delaware legend. Joe Biden was the best man at his wedding. Mouse runs Delaware's NAACP and has been involved in the community for decades. They want every black juror to see Mouse sitting with the Bidens. If you can get the jury on your side, all of a sudden, this case is not a slam dunk.
Now keep in mind, Hunter Biden is facing 3 counts of lying to a federally licensed gun dealer, writing false statements on the form, and unlawfully possessing the gun for several days. So basically, Rebecca, Jesse Waters is saying, oh, black people are too dumb on a jury to listen to evidence, listen to testimony. What he's saying is, oh, if you want a not guilty verdict, just pick nearly an all-black jury and you're going to get that.
Inverse, is he saying that if you want a guilty verdict, regardless of what the evidence is, pick an all-white jury? Is that what he's saying? But then, I mean, there's so many ways you could go with this. But also, he's saying, oh, well, black people, they'll never convict with drugs because, all black people do illicit drugs, right? I mean, look, he's ignorant. It's the reason why he's on Fox News. Bottom line, he's racist. He shows he's racist. So he's going to say racist things. And he's on a network that supports people saying racist things. And that also means that those companies that air during Jesse Waters' time, they support racist things being said that they're putting their ad dollars behind. So, okay, cool. He said something racist.
Jesse Waters saying something racist. We call that, Scott, a day that ends in DAY.
Right. Having picked several juries and Jesse Waters having not picked one, I can tell you, white America is the least qualified to talk about black people and racism or to even define discrimination. I've always said this. And the fact of the matter is that most jurors, 95% of them, and Robert, I'd love to hear your response, black, white, yellow, brown, take that case into the jury room. They try to do the right thing. They work hard. Doesn't matter their race. And black people aren't monolithic simply because the criminal justice system has housed more of us than other people, if you will, in most jurisdictions. But they work hard. They try to do the right thing. They try to follow the law. And you come back with a verdict. If Jesse Waters was right, then the majority of juries in Washington, D.C. are black, and you wouldn't have anybody convicted. And we know we got a 95% conviction rate here in this jurisdiction as well. So it's really just more ignorance than anything. And to think that Mouse, who may be a legend in that community, is sitting with the Biden family, but Jesse Waters doesn't have any problem with the leadership of the GOP in the House and Senate coming and sit in the front row in regard to Donald Trump's trial. And somehow that's right because they're white, but it's wrong in Delaware because the president happens to know everybody. Everybody knows the president in Delaware, and Mouse is a legend in the NAACP. That's cry foul. But here's the last point, Roland. I can give you 5 federal circuit court opinions that have said what Hunter Biden is charged with would never be charged and is unconstitutional. And by the way, 90% of these charges against Hunter Biden have never just been brought independent. They've always been connected to some other crime with gang members or bad actors, if you will. Never before, very few times, does the fact that this form filled out is wrong. This form was altered by the gun shop, if you will. If Hunter Biden is found not guilty or the government hasn't proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt, those would be the reasons, not because Mouse is sitting in the audience or Jill Biden is sitting in the audience. It's because the jury did their job. And if they convict him, then they did their job too. We got to respect the rule of law.
It's also, Robert, it could be because Mouse has been a friend of Biden's for more than 30 years, and his family and his children. But again, this is the level of stupidity. And I'm sure Jesse Waters is making no comment about any of the white supporters of the Biden family showing up in court.
Look, when we talk about only in America, Jesse Waters is absolutely he is the siren tale of the most unqualified white people and white mediocrity being rewarded. Remember, he started off as an intern for Tucker Carlson, and because he was tall and conservative, they started letting him do man on the street interviews. At that point in time, they made him a full-time correspondent. He was actually married when his wife was pregnant, and he left her to start dating one of the booking producers at Fox, family values, conservative values, then got her pregnant. And then when Tucker got fired for the Dominion lawsuit and costing Fox basically $1 billion, somehow Jesse Waters gets elevated to a primetime television slot. Now, I'm not saying that would never happen to a black person. I'm just saying that's never happened to a black person in the history of Earth. And this idea that somehow because you went from an intern to a primetime anchor while cheating on your wife qualifies you to talk about jury selection somehow is where this kind of conservative belief in meritocracy falls apart. Because what do they continuously say? Well, I'm against diversity, equity, and inclusion because it needs to be based on merit. What the hell merit does Jesse Waters have to talk about jury selection in a Delaware case? It's completely ridiculous. And the idea that they're putting out here that they're trying to invalidate the verdict before it happens because they're pretty sure Hunter Biden's going to be acquitted in this case because, as Scott said, these charges are never brought and they may not even be constitutional. This idea that you can deny somebody their Second Amendment right based on them being a drug addict. If you look at the text of the Heller decision that was just decided a decade ago, it makes it pretty clear that this is an individualized right. And I'm not quite sure, and the courts have not decided yet whether or not you can bar that right based on someone being a drug addict at the time. Because if you're going to say that, then why not say alcoholics? Why not say anything under that would undermine the Second Amendment? So they know this will probably be dismissed out of hand or will be an acquittal for Hunter Biden. So they're trying to invalidate that, but also blow these racist dog whistles at the same time. That not only are we going to invalidate the verdict, but we're going to do so because black people are so simple-minded that all they have to do is see another black person and they'll just get up, start juggling watermelons, shucking and jiving, frying chicken in the jury box, and then they'll be over. This is par for the course for the audience they're trying to appeal to.
COVID happened, poor people were dying at a rate already of 800 people a day. Before COVID, if you went to a funeral every single day, it would take you 600 years to attend all the funerals of the people who will die from the ravages of policy violence, poverty, and low wages in America in just 1 year. It would take you 2 years and 19 days to go to all of the funerals of the people that will die today, and oftentimes silence. Nobody talks about this political genocide, but we are determined today to remember their death and be a resurrection of voting power and voice power like never before.
Economic justice and saving this democracy are deeply connected. We, as a nation, must listen to the demands of the poor, who are pushing and will continue to push political candidates and elected leaders to lift from the bottom so that everybody can rise.
Take back the mic, take back the mic, take back the mic, take back the mic.
We are the poor, the marginalized, and the underpaid. And we are taking one step forward to say that everybody has a right to live.
Poverty is not the fault of those who are impoverished. It is caused by those who make the policy.
There are over 135 million poor and low-wage, low-income people in this nation.
The biggest block of potential voters by far is low-income, low-wage voters.
I can't afford medicine. Sometimes I have to skip because of the cost.
The farm worker community is tired of the violence imposed upon us by greed, exclusion, and denial of basic human rights.
Those folk that represented by that casket, poor and low-wage workers who are the most moral people in this country because they go to work every day believing, even though going to work is hazardous to their health.
I'm tired of working 70 to 80 hours a week and still not have money for the necessity of bills. I'm tired of getting sick and not being able to go see the doctor. Having to make a choice to pay between rent or the light bill or food or clothes.
You cannot claim to care about families and a culture of life and then do everything in your power to rob people of equal access to resources and to force them to live in poverty.
Leadership of both parties had waged war on poor people and low-wage workers.
And this government has treated people experiencing poverty, including their military families, with disdainful, deliberate, malicious neglect.
So the truth is that my son died from poverty.
We refuse to accept poverty as the fourth leading cause of death.
The fourth leading cause of death in this, the richest country in the world.
We march today for our children and the generations to come.
And we need to do it with the loudest voices possible, the biggest actions possible.
We will voice our demands and register our vote.
When we stand up and when we stand together, things change.
There is the electorate that is, and then there is the electorate that should be.
34 million eligible poor and low-income voters did not vote in 2016. If just 20% of those voters in swing states were mobilized around an agenda, they could change the political outcome of every election. So we're launching the most massive voter mobilization and turnout campaign in history of poor and low-wage voters, allies, and religious leaders.
People are dying, but we know it doesn't have to be this way. And so we are calling on everyone to join us in this Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival.
We are here, we will be seen, we will be heard, and our power will be felt. We don't need to be an insurrection. We are a resurrection that will be felt across this country. Are you ready? 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 We are a resurrection, and we are ready. And